All right. Race Brain, Hyrox Rundown. You all have to be sick of my voice at this point. I mean, we are just producing so much content at the Race Brain family of entities at this point. Like, I mean, we're everywhere. And today, on today's show, we have the fastest RMR athlete on the Jersey Shore. We've got Michelle Navarro. We've got the fastest man in West Dallas, Bracken Crocker, and the most average runner in all of Shorewood, Matt Mason. How we doing, gang?
I tell you what, it's hard to keep up with everything that's going on. Traveling, following live streams, and yeah, it's been a lot.
You're gonna have to adjust that intro. There are 20 to 30 people in West Dallas that could ask me to hold their jack at any point, and
No
I
way.
couldn't.
No way. There's no way.
20? We have 2 high schools here.
Oh, BK. You think that the Dallas high school runners got you?
I mean, they had a kid go 4:11 a year ago, and someone run like a 9:22 mile. I can't run either of those.
BK, you just ran like a 4:40 with like a bad lung, and like, or no, it wasn't a bad lung. Like your head was over the toilet the whole time. Give my guys some caffeine and proper fueling.
Okay, if you give all of us some sort of vomit session for 36 hours, I like my chances in a sit and kick. But healthy time trial, back of the line.
Bracken's got that dog. Michelle, I agree. It is impossible to keep up with everything that's going on. And I will be the first to admit, this might surprise some people. I was complaining about the lack of coverage over in Barcelona. But you know what? They surprised me. The post-race content was legit.
Yeah, I was really happy to see that they had some coverage just because I was in Atlanta at the Hyrox race there. So I didn't really get a chance to follow as it was happening. So it was great to see all of that coverage afterwards, having even like Greg there and Lauren talking about everything.
Yeah, Greg, Till, the whole gang.
We don't really do the compliment sandwich, but we say you did a good job, but here's how you can do better. It's just like a compliment leading to a complaint. And here's mine. They did such a good job with their post-race edit. Incredible. It would take entirely zero effort to hand one person one phone and at least have them at every station live streaming.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't cost anything to do that, but people are so hungry for live updates that we're all just refreshing Hyrox and high result and everything. So again, loved the post-race. But just a single Instagram story going is really, really nice.
Yeah.
Agreed. How I don't typically go back and watch races after the fact and once they've already occurred. Now there are some races that are different. Like I have watched Nice World Championships a couple of times. I've watched some of the world records back. But like just like a regional race, I'd probably just look at the results and look at the leaderboard. If they start doing this, it was actually a great way to consume the content because I didn't even have to fast forward. They would let the leaders go out on the run course. They would finish up with people. They'd skip ahead to the leaders coming in. They would skip through the boring parts. Like we didn't have to watch them row 1,000 meters. And we didn't have to watch them ski 1,000 meters. They kind of expedited through that. Like, and then they let us watch basically all of the wall balls where all the drama was. And I loved it. It was awesome.
Yeah, they did. They did a good job.
Yeah. So let's get into it. We're going to talk Last Chance Qualifier today. And then we've got a little bit of a topic for the panel, and then we will get everybody on their way. Now we're going to go compliment, complaint before we get into this, because I do have a complaint. They have to get the heats right. We were kind of going back and forth. Like last week, there was an athlete who mentioned like, hey, you shouldn't be able to win from a later heat. And I understand the predicament that Hyrox is in that, like, it is an LCQ, it is an open race, anybody can get in. It didn't wind up impacting the men's race in the way that we thought it did, but it did impact the women's race fairly significantly. And the thing that bothers me about the fact that, which by the way, fair play to Melanie, awesome race. I'm gonna have to turn that AI tracking off. Fair play to Melanie. She did overtake Chris by 4 seconds. Here's my problem with it, though. According to the hybrid statsman himself, I don't know if either of you listened to the show last week. Anybody want to take a guess at what Melanie Marer's time out of all of the racers that were in this race? Does anybody want to guess where she ranked on the season in terms of her PR?
No.
I know.
She was fifth.
Fifth.
She was the 5th fastest time in the field. How is the 5th fastest time in the field 30 minutes later?
It's not right.
It's not right. It's not right. BK, I know you got thoughts.
Well,
I know
I'm
you got
looking at
thoughts.
this, and she's not even showing up on their graphic they put up prior to the race with women's pro season best heading into the people that are eligible coming into this race that are not yet qualified. So where is that stat? What was her PR coming in?
She had the 5th fastest time of the year. She did start racing this year. She ran 3 races this year, but her PB this season was 102. She ran a 62:01. The first wave was at 17:40, which would be what, 5:40. She ran at 6:10.
Right.
She went
And
off
so
30 minutes after.
There's a graphic here. I screenshot this for us. This isn't going to be useful for you guys, but we're going to talk about it. They showed women's pro season best of all the people eligible for this race or at this race who have not qualified. There is a list of women. They did the same thing for the men. It goes from 101.36 for Margot to 102.07 with Jade Skillen. She's not even on that list. So not only did they compile a list, they left her off of it. So they didn't know. But do you know who would have known?
Race brain.
High result. Jack Bauer at large. We ran into this at Spartan.
Greg knew. Greg mentioned it on the broadcast.
Yes. And aside, he knew everything.
For real.
Their broadcast crushed. Okay.
Yeah.
So we ran into this in Spartan race. We ran into this at OCR World Championships. Stadium races ran into this because they were only putting little waves off. OCR Worlds ran into this because of waves. You know what they did? They turned to Yancey and Jack. And he, with like a 90% confidence rating, gave them who should be in there. And over the course of like 3 years, I think, of stadium races, you had maybe like 1 or 2 people make a podium that Jack hadn't known about. So my point is, the industry has run into this problem, and it has solved it by asking the people who look at these things for a passion or for a living to help out with it. And Hyrox is a victim of their own success. They did not think there would be this, like these droves of people who could all qualify. They're used to our Elite 15 plus 10 is the world of Hyrox, and it's not anymore. But this problem doesn't need to happen. And you can't put up graphics and miss out the 5th ranked person.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so Michelle, this is not a knock against BK, but Michelle, you and I have both raced a Hyrox Pro race within the last year. How many people are in the start tunnel? 50?
There's got to be at least, right? 40
You
to
could
50.
put 50. You could put 40 to 50 people on. They definitely have enough ski ergs and rowers, and they've got enough lanes.
Yeah.
So they're putting that many people out there. I'm looking at the Jack's top 40 times. Let's just say it's 40. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 women. That is almost 25% of the field who are not in the who have a top 40 time this season and are not in the first heat.
Yeah. And let's get ahead of the excuse. This is a regular Hyrox event. We cannot cater to this one. There are going to be bottlenecks. We have no. This is a one-off event. They held how many LCQs this year?
One.
How many times do they have to get it right? How many times do they have to make a special accommodation for one heat, put it slightly ahead of schedule, start the day earlier or later, or rearrange things slightly so that there is ease of access for all 50 monsters who are out there? One time per year, you have 11 months to plan it out now for next year. I just hope we never run into this problem again, because what we're seeing is the sport is no longer 15 plus 10 anymore.
Yeah.
The sport is 40 to 50 deep, and we still have people on the come up that we don't know about now who are going to be there next year, but the stats will say that they're there next year. And Hyrox won't be digging deep enough to know it, so they have to reach out and let Jack's butt do it.
Yeah, so the only thing that I could think of, the only logical explanation is that it used to be that what would happen is they would go off of, they would look at kind of what you had done and what you predicted that your time would be. And maybe she signed up early. Now, her very first race was Poznan, where she ran a 67:53. And let's just say that maybe that's when she did it. And that's when they maybe seeded her. The problem even with that argument is a 67:53 would have still put her within the top 40
right
this season. Then she ran a 65, then she ran a 62. And a 62 pro women time is legit. There are not many women out there that can run a 62 pro time. I don't even know if there's 20 women that can run a 62 pro time. Maybe
there's
20. There's
no
definitely
pro
not more than
competition.
25.
No. And there's no pro competition on earth that relies on a registration system to sort the who's pro and who's not.
Right.
Like there is one person minimum per sport who looks at it and says, now who do we need to have here? It's not like, hey, my computer told me this is it. I don't care what your accolades are. The system kicked you out. That doesn't exist in pro sports. Hyrox wants to be the champion of fitness, the world champion. One person. And that person is probably going to do it for free for you. Just take them up on it.
It does make me nervous, I'll be honest, for the pending. I think we've kind of gotten away from this, but they went back to Micah timing after the disaster that happened in January. And they're going to roll out after Worlds their new timing system. If they can't even get heats right, I'm worried about the Hyrox timing system. I am.
Let's hope they use this time to perfect it or to make it more substantial.
What did Jack say it took him?
I mean,
everything. 15 minutes.
He didn't even 15
on a
minutes.
Thursday afternoon while he was at his regular desk job.
Correct.
This isn't rocket science.
But it's not just this race. I mean, we had on Saturday night in Atlanta, we had James Kelly and Ryan Kent running out of the second heat.
Yeah.
Say what you want about Kent. James Kelly, arguably the best Hyrox racer on the planet right now, is in the second heat.
If all the Hyrox racers on earth walk into a bar, he's top 3 recognition.
Yeah.
Top 3.
The dude's brand is on the moon right now, and he's in the second heat.
He's a sponsored athlete. He walked in. They're like, yeah, I think you're going to be heat 2. I'm the face of your company.
Yeah, literally.
He might win world championships here. And they had him in the JV wave.
It's crazy. All right. Let's get to the race, because the race.
But this impacted the race.
It did impact. It did. And we'll talk about that. So let's go. We're going to go top. How far down we want to go? Someone keep me honest. Debo didn't like me going past 5. I think we got to go 10.
There's just a lot of names to talk about.
It's LCQ, top 3.
Okay, fine. We will go. Well,
we're gonna have to go to 4.
Yeah. We're gonna go top. We'll go top 5, and then we will get on it. So on the women top 5, we'll start there since we've already given away a little bit of spoilers. In first, from the Netherlands, the 22-year-old Emily Dahmen with a 61:10. Then, hailing from Great Britain, I have watched how to pronounce this name 4 times today. We'll see if we get it right. Sinead.
Sinead.
Dang it.
Sinead O'Connor, come on.
Sinead Bent, 62:13. And then from the later heat, Melanie Maurer, 63:20. The Swede. Chris Rogloski, Bracken's arch nemesis, 63:24. And then Margot van den Lindenloof, the Belgian, 64:02. This race was awesome. I mean, we talked a lot in the lead up about how many dudes there were, and there were a lot of dudes, and we'll get to that. But that shot of all the women in the start tunnel, I just started going, oh, there's Camila. Oh, there's Maria. Oh, there's Zara. Oh, there's Jade. Oh, like, and it's just like name. And then I was like, holy shit, I no longer feel confident or comfortable in any of the picks I made before this, because when you saw them all standing there, it was just like, what is going to happen?
Well, and guess what? We've got some new top names to talk about too. Like I was shocked just because, you know, we hear names all the time. We see the 4 majors each season, and yeah, Last Chance Qualifier just really surprised, I mean, for me anyway, surprised me completely in a great way. It was an amazing race to watch.
We have 3 brand new contestants in the Elite 15 on the women's field, and they are not slouches. Like, these aren't people skating in with the 67, 68. These are serious 61-10 and one of the most pressure-packed races of the season, maybe even more pressure-packed than some of the majors. That's a legit time. And that course was dense.
That was
There
cool
were
too.
bodies everywhere.
Seeing the overview of that, like, I mean, they had to work for it, just like everybody else on any other weekend. You had to go around all those people and still to put up this time. Like, whoa.
This is racing. Now, we've talked in the past that Hyrox is run your own race. You can time trial it. You can let everyone go, put your blinder. This was the opposite experience. This
Yeah.
was racing. They didn't just get on a flyer and at 9 p.m. heat by themselves with a empty course. No, they just worked for it. This was done the hard way, which you can't fake. There wasn't rhythm to just get lost into and fall asleep and find yourself just putting out that day. They earned every single piece of this. So this is not a one-off performance. And what you got out of this is what you would want, is that the 3 people who qualified are proven championship racers now.
Mhm.
Even if they've only proven it once, they've done it. So they're
Mhm.
coming to world championships and they immediately have a puncher's chance because they can race. It's not, we've seen people on the men's side who had minutes better PRs, but have never done anything in any sort of major. These people are instant major contenders because they prove they can race in horrible conditions.
Horrible. Horrible. I mean, some of the Emily and Sinead were, again, I'm the most average runner, and that might even be being generous in Milwaukee. I might be below average. And they were running fast, and they were having to, like, I mean, there was some serious, like, inside outside moving, like, and I could not believe how fast they continued to run toward the end. So let's kind of get into how the flow of the race. So all I'm saying is that I asked this question on when people were going to learn on the ski erg, and the answer is apparently never.
Never.
Because Emily Dahmen, who was the winner, was nowhere to be seen coming into the ski. She kept it nice and chill. She came out 11 seconds back of Lena Putters. And I have to say, I do appreciate that Lena went for it. I mean, I do appreciate that. But it flipped very quickly. On the rocks into the sled push, Lena came in first. Sinead was right behind her by 4 seconds. Emily was 12 seconds back. And then at that point on the sled push, literally the thing that I wrote down is, if you are in that middle pack at the field, you've got to be worried about Sinead, because if she can run that fast and she could work a sled like that, she's going to be a problem at World Championships, because those sleds did not look like they were moving, and she walked that thing like a dog.
She was also like booking it right out of each station too. I mean, her pace, you could just visually tell that she was intentional about it.
Yeah. Of everyone I saw this weekend that qualified, I almost feel like her skill set translates the best to a championship race. If you can transition hard, if you can crush a sled and keep a fairly good running pace, those are 3 components to work yourself back through the field anytime anything happens at a world championship.
In her interview as well afterwards, she was even saying that this was probably one of the first times that she had the competition to really push her. So she had other people to kind of bounce off of, and she delivered. Like she responded well every time. So yeah, I completely agree. This is like world championship racing.
And you never know which one you're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
When you start hitting contact and pressure, like, do you crumble or does that galvanize you?
Mm-hmm.
And now she's got to walk out of here on fire thinking, yeah, there's a Meg in the field and there's a Lauren, but am I really afraid of anyone else?
Yeah, I mean, I just looked on that crowded course. Her run plus rock zone was 34:03. So for 8.7K, that means that she was averaging, her run time was a 6:17 per mile or a 3:53 kilometer on a highly crowded course.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, she worked the station. She had a sub 3-minute push. She probably got some room to improve on that pull. Although again, the sleds did not look like they were cooperating. Same thing on the men's side, 358 pull, Farmers 137, sandbag lunges 326, and wall balls 403, which she could clean those up as well. So she could be a problem. But really, kind of the crazy thing that we don't really see happen very often is the other thing that surprised me was Emily looked like a runner, but didn't necessarily look like and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but doesn't necessarily look like a strength athlete. Like, I was not surprised that she ran well. She also bodied the stations. She came out of sled push, and that's where she made her move, and then basically never looked back. Her sled push time, 2:35. Her sled pull time, 3:30. That's basically where she beat Sinead. And then wall balls 3:48, lunges were 3:11, farmers carries 1:29, 4:14 row. That's actually the moment that I was like, this girl is legit. Did you see that at 700 meters in on the row, she was pulling 154s?
Yeah. And like that, at that point too, it just like goes to show me that everyone has their own like strategy for things and their own technique. And who are we to say what works and what doesn't? Because they figured it out just fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Her total run time was 34:35. So she would have been, what, 30 seconds slower than, so she's probably running 6:20, 6:21. So she was moving too, and she worked those stations. So I don't want to take anything away from Emily and Sinead. They crushed it, but basically the story is they took 1-2 from there on out, and then they never looked back. There was at no point in time, no one was even really threatening them. It was kind of that middle of the pack from there that we saw the biggest shakeups. So coming out of the leaderboard erased, of course it did. One sec, I could fix this. Coming out of the sled pull, we had Emily, Sinead. At that point, Camila was still in third. Tanya Strohschneider was in fourth. That's when Chris started making moves. Chris moved up to fifth after that. Viola also moved up after that. And then it started to look like Zara was making a move. I don't know if you all noticed this. There was something wrong. We actually thought that maybe she didn't start. I think that something happened with her chip, and her name was showing up as Spaniard's name on the, they kept talking about how she was making a move, but she wasn't on their list. And I figured it out because it was showing wrong. Zara made a move there too. I think that was probably the most surprising thing to me in this race was that the names that we thought would be in it weren't really ever in it, other than Camila. Obviously we know that Viola has been open about this hasn't been her season from a health perspective. She was sick, and she also said that she's not, physically where Viola normally would be at this point. But I mean, this kind of was like, if you're Hyrox and like, this is exactly what you want the LCQ to be. We talked about it. Like, there was all these big time names, and they weren't really a factor in the race.
Do you have theories on why, Michelle?
I do. I mean, that you can always think about so many things. You don't really know unless you ask everybody. But the first thing that comes to mind is that the people at the top, this is their one shot at it. and they had it in mind. They knew it was coming. They didn't have all of these majors where they got so close and then got beaten down because they didn't make it. So that's the first thing that comes to mind for some of the names that we've seen. Not to say that this affects everybody, but it's got to be really challenging to not get that spot when you've had the opportunities, and to have this other shot, and then all of these new people coming in and just, racing for their lives. They're racing out there. It's not a time trial, as you were saying before. They're really just racing for that spot.
Yeah. And people have shown that they can recover physically fairly well. But we've talked about it before. There's only so many times you can get up for the type of mental effort a Hyrox takes. By the end of a long season, you may not have one in the chamber like you think you do. And you get hit on race day for like the 11th time that year, and you finally stumble backwards a little bit. It's your only chance. It's a little weightier when someone pulls away. It's just tough to do. But the other piece here is that almost across the board, take a win out of it. The veterans were not ready for the sleds because they've felt these better sleds more. The young people were still not necessarily young, but the newbies were still, I think, scared of the sleds, and they showed up prepared for that. The MO has kind of become, you don't have to worry as much about the sleds because they moved this year, and Worlds is going to be on turf, and the people who anticipated being at Worlds might be doing fast sled work. The people who were ready for a sled not to move the way it used to do, which is ironic because the studs used to be really good at that thing. They were ready, and the old guard got caught not ready for the old type of sled.
Yeah, my theory on it is that this just actually just goes to show how deep the sport is. Like, we actually started this year talking about like, okay, well, hey, the men's side is definitely very deep, but like, the women's side, it's like the top two, and then Joanna kind of bursts on the scene, and then it's kind of this middle pack, and then it's kind of like up for grabs. No, the women's side is just as deep. And I was actually talking with Luca, I don't even know what day it is. Yesterday? Yeah, I think it was yesterday. And he basically said like, hey, like this is no longer a race that like you can just like take a couple weeks to try to get back in shape and show up and think that you're going to win. Like, right. You have to be like, you've got to be prepped, and you have to be at the top. Like, if you're not at the top, then someone's going to get you. And I think we're seeing that. I mean, we saw that on the men's side too, not or to a little bit of a lesser extent, but like, I mean, these times for what ultimately wound up being like a very crowded course, we had 10 women under 65. We had 12 women 65.05 or better. We had
15
women under 65.30 on a crowded course in a run for your life type event. I mean, I don't even know that we've ever had 15. We've never even had an Elite 15 race where all 15 women got under 65.
14 men broke 59.
That's crazy.
That's
crazy. So
to your credit, all year long, we're seeing these races, and it's like 56, 57, 57, 58, 59, and random people. And we're like, course. It's the course. Put in Jack's butt. It proves that it's the course. Now they came out and showed they're actually these guys.
Yeah.
These women they're legit. These times weren't all just one-offs. We kind of have to take time seriously now.
Yeah, and you just also never know when someone's about to pop one. Like, I would be curious what the rocks hopped on Emily Dahmen was. John, whenever you listen to this, let us know. She did come in with the 11th fastest time on the season, but her PR was 63.06. So in the biggest race of her life, she drops 2 minutes. That's a monster PR.
Yeah.
Well, we all knew Marcus, we in Milwaukee, we knew what Marcus was about to do, right? Like, we knew what Dawson was about to do. Now it seems like every gym and box has someone like that. That they've seen them grind all winter or all spring. Where everyone else was in the majors, this local monster wasn't, but we all know what they're about to do. Well, they all converged on the same race. All the people that couldn't get out there and race all these times, who have real job, That's not putting anyone down, but they have real life stress and jobs that they have to put before sport rather than real life stress that they get to balance with sport. And they came out and they all fired their one shot.
Yeah.
People knew this was coming. It just wasn't the mainstream media knew this was coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. The other big move on the sleds was that Camila made a move on the sleds. And I thought that actually was going to favor Camila in the race. We've talked extensively on the show about how she's one of the stronger athletes. She actually came out of sleds, both sleds, in third. We already talked about how Chris made her move on the sleds, but where Chris really made her move was on the burpees. So coming out of burpees, actually, I guess there was another move that I forgot about. Chris, that's where Chris put time into pretty much everybody, moved up to fourth and was kind of sitting right there. Sinead fell back momentarily. That's also where we saw Tanya Strichschneider jump in. She took over that second spot. But then again, Sinead's running ability, she came out of burpees with Tanya. So but she came into burpees 24 seconds ahead of her. So she gave up a lot of time, but then she put 13 seconds into Tanya on the row. And actually, I was curious if either of you thought anything about this. They actually talked about this on the broadcast. Did anybody notice the way that Sinead rose?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, there was a lot of things, I guess, that you could say are unconventional or just different than what we would typically see. But again, it clearly worked for them. It clearly worked.
I think Till made a comment about it, and Greg was like, I mean, it's apparently working. I was just pulling like 159. So it's like,
you never know. Are they doing it because or despite? And maybe if this were a rowing competition, you'd clean that up. But if she's found something that is more efficient for her, even if it's funky, if she can get off and run better because of that. I mean, Ken's talked about that for years, him balancing his rowing for how does he get the most out of the stroke, but be able to run afterwards. It's like, it's not pure rowing you're doing.
Right.
It's a setup. It's a transition piece. It's a bridge between two other stations. And so she's got something she's doing.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, I'm looking now, coming out of the sleds, Melanie is still not on the leaderboard. Coming into burpees, still not in the top 10. Melanie came out of burpees, top 7, came out of row in 6th. She was 2 back. So then from there, we watched a little bit of a back and forth. Farmers carries, Chris made a big move. That's when she got into 3rd. Same thing into lunges. At that point, though, coming into lunges, it was basically, I don't want to say it was over. And Greg actually called this on the broadcast, like anything could happen at that point. But Emily had a 42-second lead going into the lunges. Sinead had a 22-second lead on Chris. Chris had a 14-second lead on Melanie, and then Gabrielle Marati was right behind there. On the lunges, that's where Melanie made her move. She came out of the lunges 10 seconds ahead of Chris. And at that point, when we were watching the first heat, you could kind of tell that it was getting tough. Tanya, Chris, and Gabriella basically left together. Tanya actually stopped for water. They made a comment about it on the broadcast. You could tell she was hurting. And then that wall ball finish, I'll just give you what it was. Wall balls in. It was Emily. Sinead was 48 seconds back. Melanie came into wall balls 128 back. And then Chris came into wall balls 159 back. Basically, Gabriella was on her hip at 2 minutes. Tanya was 2:03. This is where I think that this matters, because what we saw happen, Chris looked, I mean, honestly, Chris looked calm, collected, and she was hammering those wall balls, hammering them. I actually, for a second, I thought that she might even just go unbroken because it just looked effortless. Like her cadence was real strong. This is where I think that racing matters, and where, and this is where it's unfortunate. I don't know. I haven't asked Chris. I'd be curious to see what she says, or if she says anything, but I have now raced a couple of times with the monitors. You can clearly see your opponents, and you can see their no reps, and you can see. And so unfortunately, Gabriella, probably she did the most wall balls of anybody. Problem was she had like 30 no reps. Like she was just getting no rep like crazy, which at one point I was like, hey, like, maybe at this point you take a break and like regroup. But she just kind of did the Ronkovich, like, if I have to do 140 wall balls, I'm doing 140 wall balls. Like, I'm not setting this thing down. Like, I'm just going to keep doing it. And we saw Tanya fade. And I wonder if Chris took a couple of breaks, and I wonder if she did because she thought that she could, because she could clearly see that she was overtaking them, and she put a decent amount of time on them on the wall balls. And again, I'm not questioning Chris at all. Like, she ran an amazing race. Her wall balls were 402. I'm just saying she looked strong enough that I think she could have done a 340. And if Melanie is right there and Chris sees that she's gaining on Melanie, we know that Chris has got the mental fortitude unlike anybody else in this race. If Chris sees that, maybe she does just go through.
I want so badly to stop complaining, but we've complained about the same thing. You cannot have a time trial and a mass start event at the same time. Even though everyone knows it's a time trial, as soon as it's a mass start event, it's a race. And you get to the wall balls and you see third place and you go after it, and that's your race. And then someone comes from a different wave and beats you. And so you just cannot offer this. You can't have someone from a different wave win if it's mass start. I just don't see why we keep trying to force this to happen. Either start every person time trial, one every 5 seconds, 10 seconds, I don't care, 30 seconds, or start them all together and bar it. We have 40 people only. That's all we get for LCQ. But this is the kind of issue. You had a world championship spot come down to 4 seconds, and visually there were 4 seconds in that fourth place athlete.
Oh, I think that's my point. Like, and it's not even like Melanie caught her on the wall balls. Chris actually came into wall balls after her. I think if Chris sees her going the wrong way, the way that Chris looked, Chris takes it.
Yeah. No,
having Melanie in that race changes the game. It's just as simple as that.
And maybe Melanie flat out beats her because she has her to race. This isn't saying Chris is better than Melanie or vice versa. It's vice versa. It's saying that it cannot ever be equal playing field if it's mass start and time trial.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you think like in that first heat, there were so many moves that were being made and had to be covered. And again, not taking Melanie is a professional athlete. We covered this last week on the show. She's a professional cyclist. She has competed in professional duathlons. She has taken second place in professional Ironman 70.3s. She is the real deal. Mm-hmm. But there is something different about having to cover a move. Like when you're covering
the same race.
Yeah, they didn't run the same race. So
environment's different. You do it hours later. There are different amount of people on the course.
Mm-hmm.
Your run time could be 30 seconds different because of crowds and unmeasurable energy expenditure different. So again, let's just not have this. Either please cap it to one heat or time trial everybody.
Yeah.
But we lost out on a world championship battle. I don't know who would have had it, but Chris has a legit gripe that she should be at Worlds. And Melanie has a legit claim that she did it alone. What could she have done in the other? We'll never know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. I sent Chris a message last night and I said, amazing race. I know that that next year you'll get in if you want it. And her response was, who said I'm not getting in this year? And you know what? She's right.
Yeah.
Because history proves she probably has a coin flip shot, a 50-50 shot that someone doesn't show up healthy to the start line in Chicago and Chris is in.
This year, I would put it upwards of 70% odds. This year's been decimated by injuries.
We haven't had a major in almost 2 years or a world championship where someone hasn't dropped.
Right.
And Chris let me know she doesn't have any ultras, Bracken, between now and June 14th. Don't let Chris come into Worlds with fresh legs.
That's like saying I'm healthy right now.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but we know what happens.
Yeah, well, I mean, she's got plenty of time to get into one, but
she's the closest first one out, and she lives in the time zone. Oh, not anymore. She's one time zone away from World Championship. So
yeah, and she's gonna be there anyway because she's racing Elite 15 doubles, and she's also racing with a friend on Sunday. So she's gonna be ready to race.
So she will cover an ultra distance that weekend either way. Yeah, I mean, realistically, she's right. She's probably in the race already.
She deserves to be there.
above average chance. All right. Hats off again to Emily, Sinead, and Melanie. Incredible race. Also, shout out to Margot Vanden Lindenloof. We had talked about this. She'd only run one pro race before this. She's still young. She is, I believe she just turned 25 and ran a very strong race and definitely one of the most competitive races that she's been in. So that's going to be someone to watch out for next year. So on to the dudes. We had an impressive 56.05 out of the Aussie Tom Rogers. Hide Wiersma, 56.33. John Wynn, fellow Aussie, 57.14. Joffrey Voisin. This dude, I mean, Bracken, he's just going to be around forever because he's the first one out, but he's going to wind up racing too. You kidding me? Dude's definitely dropping for sure.
Absolutely.
Joffrey Voisin, 57.45. And Alan Plow, 57.58. But to Bracken's point, this race lived up to the hype. We had over 40 dudes that were legit. The entire top 25 was sub 60. You have to go to the 28th spot, Lucas Storath, to find someone who did not break 60, and even he was 60.05.
That is stacked.
And he could have broke 60 if he wanted to.
Yeah, he could have broke 60 if he wanted to. I think when he knew it was over, I mean, he 6'10" wall ball. I mean,
yeah,
realistically, he's 50, he's sitting at 58. So this one was compelling. I mean, it had, I mean, it was, I don't even, where do we begin? The amount of lead changes?
I don't know. I mean, does anyone travel better than the athletes from Oceania? Like, we struggle. The U.S. struggles going over to Europe. How does Australia and New Zealand show up and perform like every single time they travel?
Yeah, it's impressive.
Probably because they have to. They think about where they're at. Like if you ever want to leave your country, it is like even Jake, people were talking about how it was a home race for Joanna and JK in Hong Kong because it was APAC.
Yeah.
An 11-hour flight. A home race is an 11-hour flight.
Right.
I've traveled to New Zealand. There's nothing pleasant about that. Until you're there. Anyway, they've taken away our travel excuses because they more than double us every time they race, and they show up every time.
Well, and I think it's just like, I think that's just part of living there, because I'm actually reading Tia's book right now, and she talked about how she lives on the coast. I think people forget how big Australia is. And growing up, she went to school on the same coast. Like she went to boarding school. It was like an 18-hour drive from where she grew up on the same coast. So it's like, that's like the equivalent of like living in Seattle and going to school in LA. Like that is serious distance. I think they're just used to it. Like they're just built different. But this race was, I mean, again, are people ever going to learn? I think that the answer is no. We do know the first lap was short. I don't know how short. Richard Hynek actually came in first into the ski at 3 minutes. Lucas Storath was in at 3:07, and that was the 10th fastest time. Coming out of the ski, Richard Hynek was still in first. Yannick Chapel, Hide Wiersma, Lucas Storath. So again, still no one except for Hide that wind up placing was even in that top 10. Sled push. We did see some guys struggle on the sled push in the first race, or the first heat, I should say. Harry Thompson was the first out, followed by Lucas and Charlie Bottrell. The leaderboard's not going to be great because there was some times from later, again, that kind of messed things up a little bit. But the story was, at least in that first heat, we saw Hide, Allen, and the Spaniard Emilio Aguayo basically go pole to pole from there on out. And I started to wonder, like, how sustainable is that for those guys. I mean, front running is the hardest thing to do. What's the guys? I can't. Cannot remember his name. In the U.S. Marathon trials, who was he's from Indiana, Bracken. Guy that
CJ?
led it. He led it for like 22. Like he took it out hot, led it for 22 miles, and Connor and Clayton basically just like let him lead it until they just let him pull him along until he blew up, and then they just overtook. I cannot remember the guy's name.
Albertson or no? CJ Albertson?
Let me look. 2024.
But
you guys discuss while I'm pulling this up.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, this is a race circumstance. Like they went for it. This is your one shot. This is all of your cards are here. So they're going for it. And it was cool for me because I'm not as familiar with some of these names again. And so I just felt like I was seeing a new name take over the next station every single time. I had no idea what was gonna happen.
Zach Panning.
Oh, Panning.
Yeah. He led it for like 22 miles and then he hit the wall and Connor and Clayton just took him over.
Well, Hyrox looks so impressive when you're doing it well. And so these people are coming out of the stations and I think, what has happened to this sport? Like, everyone looks great. It's so fast. It's unreal. We have studs 10, 15, 20 seconds back already, looking like they're trying hard and the fronts are effortless. And then Wren comes due. And it hits everyone at a different point, but I don't know if you get caught up in the adrenaline. It's the biggest race most of those guys have ever been in their life. You're not even feeling that first run and ski, but the rules of Hyrox still apply.
Yeah, they still apply. We saw the move from the Aussies, sled pull, and then burpee broad jump in. That's where we start to see John and Tom's name. They both made a move on the broad jumps. Tom came out of the broad jumps in 4th. John came out in 6th. Coming into the row, Tom had worked his way up into 3rd. John was still in 6th, not far back. At that point, Lucas was still in the race. This is where all those later heats had kind of blown themselves up. Now we can kind of go from here because it is all of the top racers. It was Heedy, Emilio, Tom Rogers, Lucas Torres, Allen, and John Wynn. Eugenio was just behind John. All came out actually in that same order. Eugenio kind of fell off, and then Farmers carries in. It was basically the same. This is where I started to wonder what was going to happen. John Wynn is incredibly strong on the back half of the stations, so I would never count him out there. But I started to wonder if they're like, where was the time going to come from? Because lunges in, it was Emilio, Heedy, and Tom. Then Lucas was 42 seconds behind that pack, and John was a minute behind that pack. So you've got 2 stations and 1 run left, and obviously that is plenty of time for a blow up to happen. But being a minute down, and actually when they left the lunges, John was still about 40 seconds back of 3rd place, and actually coming in to, they talked about this, like it looked like it was going to be over for a second because wall balls in, it was Tom Rogers, Emilio, Heedy, then John came in 4th, but Heedy came in at 8 seconds back of Tom. John came in at a minute back of Heedy. And so they even said, like, Greg didn't doubt John, as I wouldn't either in the wall balls, but basically said, like, hey, both these guys have wall balled fast enough to be able to like hang on. And we kind of saw a little bit of a blow up. It's hard to say that whenever Emilio ran an incredible race. I wouldn't take anything away from him, but I think to your point, Bracken, like rent came due because he put so much into the running and into the stations, and he came in 3rd place, and he ultimately finished 13th.
Mm-hmm. And his I can't fault because he was so close. Yeah. But when it goes really ugly, and there's no amount of toughness that can keep it going once it's gone. It's just wall balls are brutal coming off those lunges, and he worked himself right up until he cracked. But you can't guess wrong.
Yeah.
And he got it wrong by what? 2 minutes?
Yeah.
He got it right for 54 minutes, 55 minutes, and then it went
his wall balls were 623. And again, who knows, like, is this a situation where when John overtakes him and passes him, it's just like, okay, I'm spent, so I'm going to finish, but I'm not going to like give it everything I have. Like, you know, and I'm not taking anything away from him, but like, you got to get top 3 or it doesn't matter. But you could argue that it does though, because you get the first roll down spot.
Yeah.
I think he was giving it his all, but just had a lot of no reps. Like, I think he was trying his absolute
They were adding
best.
up. Yeah, they were adding up on him. But man, the ageless wonder, Joffrey, man, just closes 255 sandbag lunges, 345 wall balls. We know he can go unbroken. I mean, these station times he was 4th in the row, 6th in the lunges, 9th in the wall balls, 8th in the sled pull. And his running wasn't bad. 28:37 run time, 4-minute rock zone. So, you know, 32.5 minutes, not bad for the big fella. A really exciting race and cool to see Tom Rogers. And again, we're going to get 2 new names in the Elite 15 out of this, Tom Rogers and Heedy. And then good for John Wynn for getting in. I was actually surprised. People, I guess, in Australia weren't, because they knew that Tom was legit. He had he's won most of the Australian races in his age group. He did a 58:37 in Perth, a 59:40 in Auckland. So again, like, I mean, we definitely had him as someone to watch out for. I'm looking at Jack's sheet.
Well, I was looking into this too. He actually qualified for pro doubles with Chris Woolley, I believe, as well.
Yes. Yeah, he did. Yeah, Tom was the 19th fastest PR this season coming into this race. Actually, 1 spot behind Grayson Kilgore. That's a 2-minute PR in the biggest race. Well, I don't want to say of your life, because I don't know what Tom's background is. One of the biggest races of your life against that stacked of a field, and you just drop 2 minutes.
He was ready.
I mean, I'm not good at percentages, but what's 2 minutes on a 58, Jack? That's got to be like what, 6%, 7% increase. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it was great to see just that impressive of a performance, just to take it all the way through.
It just highlights again what we wanted out of this. The top qualifier on the men's side had the 9th best time coming in. I mean, I shouldn't say that. The highest ranked person to qualify was 9th on the men's and 10th on the women's. So we had 1 top 10 time qualify in through the LCQ. Technically 2, because we had a women's time that was not ranked 5th overall and should have been. So 3 people total between men and women were top 10 coming into this race, and one of them was 10th. That just shows how much, like what Matt's been saying, the depth is way deeper than we thought it was.
It's deep. It's deep. And, you know, and John Wynn was very honest about this coming into it, just talking about like, hey, look, like, there are no guarantees. Like, this field is stacked and someone could get me. And he almost got. He didn't, but he almost did. I mean, there are some serious names on the on the men's side. Like, how many of those guys have run Elite 15? Like, I think it's all Elite 15 race of non-Elite 15 athletes.
Well, in your opinion, if Hyrox ended as a sport right now, where would John Wynn be ranked all time? Ballpark. Is there an argument for top 10?
Probably. He hasn't missed a major in 2 years.
And to get into Worlds this year, he had to wall ball past someone and hope that the person from the next heat didn't quite catch him. That's how deep the sport is. He is a top 10 all-time guy, and it came down to the very last station twice for him to get in.
Yeah, I'm looking He's finished, he finished 6th at Worlds in 2023, his first time doing it, and he finished 9th last year. So he's got 2 top 10 finishes at Worlds, hasn't missed a major in 2 years. And you could make an argument. I mean, he's better than those early. Yeah, so probably, I think that's fair.
And it came down to the final station of the season before he had a slot.
With everything on the line.
So again,
I will say, actually, that was one thing that I did want to point out, that like when he started wall balling, I knew he had it because again, going back to like visually, his cadence, like that's like what I dream of. He was at one point, he was doing 2, like the guys next to him weren't even dropping it, but his cadence was just so refined. I actually remember listening to, I think it was Matt Frazier, talk about how if you want to get better at Karen, there's only like, you can only do 150 wall ball. Like, you know, if you do 150 unbroken, right? Like the only thing you can actually improve upon is how fast you do them. And that is literally what John did. Is like, even though he came in 25 or 27 down, it was like, oh, he's got more than enough time because he's doing 2 for every one. He got to 25 or 26 before they'd even gotten to like 40. I mean, it was wild to watch. But then kind of same thing though, that we talked about. There was, it wound up not mattering, but there was someone from a heat an hour and 10 minutes later who got 6th, who only finished 40 seconds behind John.
It was closer until wall balls.
Yeah. I mean, that got to get it right. Got to get it right. So hats off to the dudes. Excited to see 2 new names in the Elite 15. And good. John Wynn's a good guy, so happy for him and glad that he has gotten in there. I have to imagine Joffrey's going to wind up racing. If there's a 70% chance that a female drops, put it almost at an 85, 90% chance that a dude drops. I mean, we've had multiple dudes drop from majors.
Is he in already for doubles?
Joffrey, no.
Is he going to be there anyway?
I don't know what his plans are, but if I'm Joffrey, I'm coming because there's a high likelihood that he gets in.
Yeah.
So, all right, that leads me to my question for the panel. Something that I actually heard this morning while listening to RMR. Kent was talking to Rich, and Kent made the comment that he felt like we're in the golden age of Hyrox. And they're talking about how fast could someone go. And Kent made the comment, hey, when we're all gone, I actually think we're going to see a step back before we see a step forward. Because guys like me and Hunter and a few others, like we were already ready for this and we just came into it. My question for the panel is, do you agree with Kent? Or do you think that the next wave is going to take it to heights that we haven't seen? Or lows that we haven't seen, I guess I should say.
I agreed with him until this year.
We just talked about
the scene. JK's continued to ascend. We just had all these not randoms, but for all intents and purposes, random people come in and smash Elite 15 competition.
You're right.
I think we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Emily Dahman is 22. Joanna's
like
22.
We're not seeing anything that's consistent, I guess, with the type of athlete, right? So I think that in itself, like, I feel like we still haven't seen it all. So I can't say one way or another what's going to happen. I feel like it's a toss up.
I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying that we keep getting proven wrong by these sports.
Yeah,
I said to anyone who would listen that Hunter McIntyre is genetically predispositioned to be the best ever at this sport. And that lasted 9 months. And now he hasn't won against JK in a while. And it's just like these things change so quickly. We are seeing people grow up doing it. And when I say grow up, I mean from like 18 on. You're seeing late teen, early 20 people get into it now. Like Kent and Hunter were prepared kind of. But these people have a 15-year head start, 12-year head start.
Yeah. I mean, Rich brought up the point of like, hey, maybe there's a 4'11" high schooler who finds the weight room, doesn't like school, wants to make a little bit of cheddar because like sponsorships are starting to come in. You could get into this. I mean, listen to this. These are the amount of, I'm just going to go by ages that are sub 30 that just ran below 60 minutes on the men's side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So second page, 12, 13. We just had 13 dudes under the age of 30 run sub 60 in an LCQ
At not a fast course.
at not a fast course. And
Yeah.
that doesn't even include what's his name, Charlie Bottrell, who is, I believe, younger than 25, who did not have the race that he wanted in this, to be sure, but has proven that he can run mid to high 50s and is young. And we're starting to see, especially in the UK, every weekend they're posting dudes that are like 16, 17 years old that are running pros and sub 65. I mean, that's crazy. Like, I think, I get where Kent's coming from, but Joanna's 22, Emily's 22. Like, we got some young people and the sport is only growing. And again, like you get some guys like Dawson who are good, but not great runners comparatively from a track and field or cross country perspective, but like have big frames and can put some muscle on. Those dudes could be scary.
Yeah. And Kent's right. If everyone
Also, it's
35
crazy
and
to call a national champion good, not great, but he'll know. He'll know it when he hears it.
Well, and that's the thing. There's levels to it.
Yeah.
There's Dawson, who's what, 6'3", and was a D3 national champ steeplechaser. But there's going to be a D2 and D1 version of him as well out there. We don't know if they come over, but if they do, the stats say that the ceiling's higher. And Kent's right. If everyone 35 and over retired right now, right after World Championship, there's going to be a drop off in the sport. There has to be, but it's going to get filled within a year. And that's the crazy part.
Yeah, it's just expanding.
OCR, we always said, what would happen if a D1 guy or a C-tier Kenyan came over and learned to run mountains for a year and did pull-ups? Well, we don't wonder about it here. Tia is coming over. People are trying it. We have a duathlete who's been on the podium, Ironman podium. Like, we have people who are doing it. We have people coming out of college and trying it. OCR, it was a theoretical. Hyrox, we're finding out. And since it started, it's not going to go backwards. It's just going to keep filling out.
Yeah, people are showing up.
Pretty soon, sub 60 is not going to mean anything for the men.
Yeah, on the women's side, I mean, just from this race, well, you got Joanna, who's top 3 in the world right now, and I think she's 22, 23. Emily is 22. Sinead is in the 25 to 29 category. Chris Rogloski still in the 25 to 29 category. Margot Van den Lindenloop is 25. Lena Putters, also 25. And if we go just over to the women that aren't there, like I think the sport is in great shape, and I'm really excited to see what they decide to announce for next year on the qualification system, if it's going to stay the same, or if maybe this makes them rethink that you need to be able to race your way in, because that was exciting.
I mean, imagine if you had like 30 at each of the majors, what would happen then? I mean, you can clearly run more than 15 at a time. That's not the point. We want to focus on, the top, but you're seeing so many other people put up just as impressive times. And yeah, it just kind of matters when you're racing.
Yeah. So I have a question for you two before we head off here. Michelle, I give you a female golden ticket, and Matt, I give you a male golden ticket. An entry to Worlds. Who are you handing them to? Who do we need to see there that's not qualified? Anyone in the sport?
Oh my gosh. Matt, you got anybody?
Wait, I can only pick a male and Michelle has picked the female?
Yeah. I think it's obvious, so I'm curious to hear what you two think.
I mean, at this point, after this weekend, Chris deserves it. I would give it to Chris.
Pains me, but I agree.
Like, that was a fantastic performance from her.
I'm going to talk with my heart and not my mind. Sean Noble.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that's the obvious choice.
Yeah, I think this race did not go the way that Sean wanted it to, but you can't fake a 55, man. You can't fake a 55, and he's run a 55. And you also can't fake his performances this season. So It'd be him or Yannick, but I'd probably lean towards Sean just because he has got the faster PR by about a minute. And the storyline is getting really compelling with him. Did you watch the pre-race lead-in of him? Like that dude has gone from villain to like cult hero in a span of like 9 months, and it's crazy. Do you remember? Like people forget this is the same dude that everybody went crazy at because they said that his time wasn't legit because he cheated the lunges and he cheated something else, and
he had
asked
to come up
Hyrox
with a video about it, addressing it. This is not who I am. This does not represent me as a human. And he had to go on a press tour. And then Hyrox did him a favor and screwed him over. And people are like, he's one of us.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, and like now everyone's pulling for him. Like
if I
don't
ever
know
get caught up in a scandal, I'm paying off a judge to hose me in a race. That's the first thing I'm doing.
Yeah. He has gone from villain, like people were in his DMs saying hateful things to him to now he is like everyone is pulling for him. I don't even know if I can think of like a politician who's been able to do an about face in 9 months like that. It's crazy.
That's a great point.
It's crazy. Who you agree you'd go Chris and Sean?
Yeah, those are the exact people I would hand mine to.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and there's just so many good names that aren't even gonna be there. Like I'm just looking at like Yannick didn't make it. Joffrey, who we mentioned, Tobias didn't make it. Sebastian Iverson, whose races here, didn't make it. Gabe Heck, Sadiq. I mean, there's people like just littered throughout here. So we'll see. All right, I think we did it. We do have London Excel this weekend. We were going to do a lead-in show to it. However, I don't know if we will just because the start list is out and there are not as many teams competing as we had anticipated. On the men's side, we're going to have Ollie Fricker and Sean Noble. So Sean may get there after all. Charlie Bottrell and Ollie Russell, that'll be a good team. Fabian Eisenlauer, who actually had the world record with Ronk, is running with Florian Gast. Peter Schiller and Kieran White, and then Tony Revel and Kieran Parkinson are running. If I had to, you put a gun in my head and made me pick three, I'd probably go Charlie and Ollie, Fabi and Florian, Tony and Kieran. And then on the women's side, I did not recognize any of the names. We know that Meg and Camila will be there. We know that Kate and Zara will be there. And that will be a dangerous team because I think Zara will be extra motivated given that she missed out on the women's side. And then Lucy Proctor is running with someone. I cannot remember who she's running with. My guess is that would be the top three. That is no disrespect to the other teams out there. I just didn't recognize any of the names off the jump. If we do see that the start list changes and there's more than those three teams, we will put together an episode later this week. But if nothing changes, we'll probably leave it at that.
And you know what? After what Richard Hynek did in blasting out and still going 58, our OCR dream team, it may just have a shot. If Hynek, who is not considered a strength athlete at all, can go 58 with poor pacing, why can't those two qualify?
Who are you talking about? Nicole and Becca?
Yeah. They won't.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, Nicole and Becca are also racing. That's
allegedly
true. Nicole Marigold and Rebecca Hammett, allegedly.
We'll see. They won't qualify, but if he can run 58, they can run a good doubles.
We'll see. I saw Nicole was working on the wall balls, so
good.
Yeah, good. All right, squad. Any final thoughts? Anything that we missed?
Nope.
You did great, Matt.
All right, BK, Michelle, always a pleasure, never a chore. We out.